fighting. And we are constantly adapting to the threat, and we understand where the threat comes from, how it manifests itself. That's the most important thing. And right now, I can assure you that soon we will be talking about a black albino who will appear and you will see. Don't ask me what that means. I think you'll understand later. The war will end, and very soon.
Precisely to win this war, as you just said, we need weapons and we also need men. Above all, determined men. Determination, as you know, is the major game changer. That's what makes the difference in any war. Right now, as we speak, what exactly is the morale of our troops on the ground?
You have very well pointed out the heart of the problem is human resources, determined men. It's not.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel Let's Talk Africa. If you are new here, please make sure that you like and you subscribe. Let us continue with the video. I hope that you're going to enjoy this exclusive interview of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the president of Burkina Faso. Thank you very much. Please make sure, don't forget to subscribe and like the video and also share with your friend. Thank you very much.
Just about the countries or the equipment, you need determined men. And if you notice, we are in the process of building a quality army. And it's not uncommon that often when it's determined that a unit leader or a unit has failed in their mission, they are dismissed and prosecuted. This has happened several times, and it will continue this way. If you sign up to be a soldier, you must accomplish the mission because the mission is sacred to us. And the other thing is that despite the pressure, despite the challenges, the men continue to fight and are very resilient. If today you catch a Burkinabe soldier and ask him, do you want other people to come fight in your place or come help you? They will never tell you yes. They would rather die. It's at this level that you can judge their morale. They are ready, always ready, despite the situation. No matter what battle we lose, we will always hold the ground. That's what's very important in the mindset of the soldiers. So morale is at its highest. People didn't expect to reach this level of equipment, but they have. So they're giving it their all. And I can only congratulate and thank all those who are fighting. It's very important.
So, Mr. President, in your address, you talked about a war that takes different forms, that is evolving. We keep asking ourselves this question: who is attacking Burkina Faso?
It's not just terrorism. It's a war to seize our resources and prevent us from developing. I once explained this in a speech, I believe. I was saying that if we manage to properly exploit our subsoil resources, to process what we are extracting here, what we are producing, there will be unemployment over there in their countries. It's a battle. They plunder our resources in order to survive. So it's a war for independence. We must wage this war to be fully independent, to decide our own development and our own path. So that's what it's about right now.
Mr. President, as you just said, we're talking about the security and defense of Burkina Faso. Let's talk about your personal security. You just mentioned it a moment ago. The pressure is enormous. It's intense. The danger comes from everywhere. Mr. President, just in 2025, there have been several coup attempts that were foiled. Mr. President, do you ever feel afraid?
Thank you. I think that's the only strength I have. I'm not afraid because I trust all of you. That's the first thing. You have to trust the people because it's the people who entrusted us with this mission. And I trust the people that they will understand. And that's why we don't hesitate to stand before the people to explain the situation to them and tell them what's going on. And that helps maintain a very good relationship. That's the first thing. The second thing, as I said, is that there was a mindset that needed to be developed within our own forces. That's very important. Right now, this mentality, people understand why they're fighting. If you look a few years back, many officers in the field didn't know why they were fighting. But if we know why we're fighting, who we're up against, and why they're fighting, there's that pressure, and people understand better. And that's why we immediately created the Institute and the Higher Military School, so that we could train our own soldiers and instill in them what we want. Remember one thing, if you let your forces be trained by other powers, they put into their heads whatever they want. They indoctrinate them as they please, and it's easier to manipulate them. Here in Burkina right now, that's exactly what's bothering many imperialist powers. They can't infiltrate our army. All these units that have been created, all these men who are here, no one came from elsewhere to train them. We are built on our own field experience and we train them ourselves. I personally took part in the training of some of these forces at the very beginning. So that's already a second strength. And the other strength is that if you have a mission, a goal for your country, you must not be afraid. If you're afraid, you hesitate. If you hesitate, you compromise. And once compromise sets in, you're done for.
Earlier, you listed a number of factors that make you feel reassured. I insist because history matters too. It's history that guides us. These imperialist forces, they are real. In 1961, they were responsible for the fate of Patrice Lumumba in the DRC. In 1972, they got rid of Kwame Nkrumah in another way. And then in 1987, they got rid of Thomas Sankara, again with internal enemies and sometimes with the complicity of certain neighbors. You know what they say, Mr. President? The first duty of a revolutionary is to stay alive in order to continue the struggle. Mr. President, can you please reassure all these numerous people, all these many men and women gathered here and indeed elsewhere who are truly beginning to hope that you will continue to stay alive and well?
They always manipulate from within. We are very well aware of that. And also, one of our duties is to take part in our own security. It's not about saying today that I'm the head of state and I just entrust security to other people. No, everyone takes part. I myself take part. That's why I say it's not just a matter for those who are close to me. It's a matter for the whole people. And security is not just about the men in charge and everything operational. It's a whole system. It's also about behaviors, ways of living. We have to avoid many things that perhaps mistakes were made in the past. We have read a lot about all those whom imperialism has taken down, and we have learned many lessons. That's why we say we won't let things repeat themselves. We will anticipate, even if people interpret it however they want, we will anticipate. Because we have understood the message, the hope that exists. We will do everything to always anticipate the actions of imperialism.
Mr. President, from the perspective of the journalist that I am, I feel that the AES countries are being encircled. When I look at Côte d'Ivoire, for example, there is a military camp in Odiané, near Mali and Burkina Faso. Senegal is setting up units at the border with Mali, not to mention Benin as well, which borders Burkina Faso and Niger. Mr. President, do you personally share this particular point of view? Do you, in fact, see things in this exact way?
I think that when you decide to make a revolution, you have to be prepared for this kind of adversity. It's a logic that surrounds us. It's a logic that tries to bring us down. It's logical. As I said, it's a battle. They are fighting for their own interests. And it's up to us, if we've decided to make the revolution, to do everything we can to break this encirclement. You see, in Africa, we're used to not having a strong army to begin with. There is no state if there is no strong army. But well, that was the system. As I once told the soldiers, they came to flatter us. No, you shouldn't arm yourselves. Even recently, I think in an interview, an American general said it again, that our countries don't need to be militarized. That's their view. We're like children, they're the ones who have to come and sit down, provide security for us. And many countries are in this situation. They don't build an army. And when the situation arises, it's chaos. We, on the other hand, are building a strong army. That's why I said we fight in Burkina Faso, and we train in Burkina Faso. That's very important. What was it like before? Every time foreign forces, everyone comes to train your soldiers. They treat you as if you are worth nothing. Today, many forces, foreigners are now looking to come and train with us. You wouldn't believe it. The greatest powers are seeking to come and train with us. We are here. But it's not just about training. They want to learn how we do things, how we operate, who trains us. But today, no one knows how the special forces are trained, how they are prepared, how they are equipped. Why do we believe that it's others who should come and train us? They didn't invent something. They thought it through. We have brains too. So we need a powerful army to face adversity. They will keep surrounding us because there will always be African heads of state like that who will allow it. Because their hands are tied, they always betray. They will always agree to let the imperialists come to their countries to attack their own brothers. If you accept the revolution, you have to embrace this concept. This will exist. So there's nothing we can do about it, we deal with it. But it's up to us to prepare so that the encirclement becomes meaningless, so that they can never achieve their goal. That's all. So we deal with it.
Very recently, ECOWAS held a forum of chiefs of defense staff of the Friends of Africa. Mali and Burkina Faso were not there, nor was Niger. We sense a lack of solidarity. You who are at the top of the state, what can you tell us about that?
Well, it's not a lack of solidarity. Keep in mind that this is a confederation, not a federation. In some respects, we do a lot of things together, in tandem, but the Charter states that countries can decide on their own relationships and what they can do. We can't tell one country not to collaborate with another country, no. We're not at that stage yet, to begin with. We're in the process of consolidating the Confederation in many areas: development, defense, and diplomacy. And after that, we'll move on to the Confederation. These are steps. So Niger can take part in meetings. The Confederation is not closed off. We are open, we interact with everyone. We are very Pan-Africanist. We are truly open to integration, to everything there is, but with principles. All right.
This is about defense and security. We'll let you have one last question.
Thank you, Sanyun. The question I'm about to ask, forgive me, is not about defense or security, but about your relationship with us, the media. Mr. President, do you have a particular problem with the media, with us journalists? I say this because it seems there has been a misunderstanding. I'm talking about national media, not international media, some of which have ended up in the trash for some time now. That's a fact. There are no national media. It seems there was a misunderstanding at the beginning, and there's something, a kind of fog that remains. How do you analyze the situation, Mr. President?
You know I'm not a hypocrite. There was a misunderstanding. There was some confusion at the beginning, but today, I must say I really commend the media for their professional work. We must avoid following the work of imperialism. Of course, many among you were trained by them. That's it, you went to the white man's school, as we like to say. They're the ones who trained you in journalism. So I don't often blame you when people try to act like them. But I speak so that people become aware that this is about our homeland. Look this morning, for example, read the headlines in the newspapers in France. They might tell you that there was a mobilization to put pressure on the Prime Minister. They won't tell you that there was a march against the government or anything like that. But if it were in Burkina, you would say there was a march against the government. Do you understand? The French used to call us, and still call us, putiche, gente. Those are French words. But journalists also called us putiche, gente, so why follow them? With our eyes closed, it's still slavery. I want us to move away from that. Every state must fight for its own interests. Journalists fight for their own interests. So why shouldn't we fight for our interests in Africa? So that's it. It's not just the journalists. I also see some intellectuals who are on TV panels in Africa. When they speak, you ask questions, but is he African? Well, genetically, he's not Aqua. He's not with us, that's a fact, a setback. Yes, we need to decolonize our mindsets, our ways of doing things. Everyone must fight for their homeland. You might have information that is perhaps true and accurate, but you decide not to release it because it could harm national defense, security, cohesion, and so on. That is a sovereign decision because you want to protect your country. But we don't say that as soon as there is information, it must be released. No, that's not how it works. And very often, as we like to say, journalists aren't interested in trains that arrive on time. It's the train that stops that gets their attention. You know that? Oh yes, but we need to avoid that. Now I want you to take an interest in the trains that arrive on time.
All right, I'd like to leave you with a phrase that is the motto of a great European club. It's this one. Our jersey may be stained with blood, mud, and sweat, but never with shame. That's all I wish for you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you greatly.
So now we move on to the political and social section of this interview. And for that, we welcome Mathieu Somda from Radio Burkina and Colette Kombari from Impact TV. Good evening, dear colleagues. You also have 20 minutes to discuss with the head of state on the topic of politics and society.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, September 30th, 2022 to September 30th, 2025. Soon it will be 3 years of managing state power. What is your interim assessment in terms of implementing your vision and direction? politically through the progressive and popular revolution.
It must be said that we took over the country with a certain situation in terms of security, but also with a different situation economically and politically. There were a great many significant reforms to be made, so many in fact that we simply couldn't possibly list them all at once. So we had an ideology. We began to implement the revolution up until last April, when we officially proclaimed it. And when we talk about revolution, it means revolutionizing every aspect of our lives. Because we can't keep doing the same things as before and expect a different result. If we were just continuing as before, I think it would have been better to let the politicians carry on with their business. But we wanted to break away. And breaking away requires a lot of commitment. Thank God, the people understood. People realized that a break was necessary. Whether it's in terms of behavior, practices, governance, the economy, trade, and everything that goes along with it. And every day, I can tell you, we keep discovering new things. Because the system that was in place, I like to use a caricature and say it was like a big knot that we found. You untie one, another one appears. When you untie one, another one appears. So there were many problems in our society that we are currently working to solve. And thank God, I can say that many things have been initiated. And overall, for me at least, the results are satisfying, even though I think we can still make more effort. And if you wish, you can ask me questions about each area, because there are many things that have been started. Excellencies regarding the revolution, the progressives, there have certainly been explanations, but there are still some who want to better understand what this revolution is really about. The exact content, as I have said before, I will not disclose. If you allow everyone to know the details of what you intend to do, they can anticipate your actions. But we have outlined
the main points,
so that people can understand where we are headed. So if you notice, in the very model of governance, in the fight against corruption, and in good governance, the first thing is the example that leaders must set. As I said, you can't have a category of Burkinabe who, just because they've been given positions, get to choose between fine whiskey and good champagne, while women are dying on their way to fetch water from the river. They drown or something. It's just not acceptable. So there's this mindset that we need to have in order to build a just society. Everyone should be able to have access, for example, to clean drinking water. You can't just eat whatever you want, pick your meals, throw away whatever you like, while others can't even get a single meal. That's what led us to launch initiatives in agriculture, for example, because the majority of our population works in agriculture. But for a long time, we realized that they have been neglected. It's not that our land is poor. It's not that they lack the ability to work. But they also needed to be given that boost, which is what led us to create these initiatives. Today, I think the most important thing for me is that when you go into the countryside and ask the farmers questions, they can honestly tell you that now they feel good. They farm, they have enough to feed themselves, and the surplus they sell. Usually, it's the village elders who pay and create a security stockpile. And when, in certain areas or during certain periods, there are problems, they take it out and sell it at a well-subsidized price, accessible to everyone. So that's very important. The ideology of revolutionizing many sectors, when you look at the field of public finance, for example, we're in the process of digitizing many aspects with a lot of difficulty because people don't like it. Soon, for example, we're going to launch electronic invoicing. Already, when we brought up the idea, many major operators were opposed to it. Why don't they want transparency? Because people have gotten used to cheating, to stealing. It's like a norm. That's what's been established, so all of that needs to change. When it comes to infrastructure, there are a lot of things. The area of public procurement and everything related to it was actually the most corrupt sector. So you're an entrepreneur, you come to see us, we give you the contract, you overcharge. Then we give each other something under the table. That's a golden rule. And so when someone even comes with a different idea, you're automatically excluded. You're not allowed. If we let that continue, I don't think we could ever get out of it. We wouldn't be able to pay for weapons. Because, as I said, if you don't achieve economies of scale, you can't equip yourself. You won't find a single bank in the world where you can go and get a loan to buy weapons. That doesn't exist. It's with your own funds that you can equip yourself. In any case, we never had that opportunity. And if anyone knows of one, maybe we'd be interested. And everything we're acquiring, as I told you once, the amount is in the billions of dollars. How do we do it? Where did we get the money? That money was there. We had to clean up the financial sector, trade, and everything that goes with it. And regarding the operation of a state-owned company, you may have noticed this year's results. The results for 2024 are already impressive, and 2025 is looking even better than 2024. Let me take the hydrocarbon sector, where as early as 2023, we made tremendous progress. Before, there were government subsidies, meaning we were still collecting taxes to subsidize the company, to pay for the surpluses, the shortfalls, and all that. But now, the company is no longer in that situation. We've cleared all the company's debts, and it's starting to make a profit. It's because there was corruption in the sector. So there are so many situations, I can't list them all. So this field also needs to be revolutionized through digitalization and everything that comes with it. Basically, the entire administration is being digitalized so that people no longer have access to the circulating cash. And so that things are transparent, you, as the person requesting the service, know exactly what it covers and where your money is going. The infrastructure, as you can also see, is truly a critical issue. We're in the process of revolutionizing everything. So that's the mindset, to change the paradigm, to do things we weren't used to doing. So understand that from this statement.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, we've entered the progressive revolution and we're moving forward. But there is this segment of the population, the politicians, who used to be active before. What role can these politicians play now in this revolution?
I'm not going to be hypocritical again. If it's that political mentality, they have no place in the revolution. It's the opposite. Look at how Burkina Faso used to be. Because for 27 years, well, more than 27 years of Blaise's reign, and even the MPP's rule, it's just a continuation of the same politics. And this politics, our generation was born into it. So we were born and people grew up with a certain mentality. If you don't know someone, you can't access certain services, what we call deals. Everyone grew up with this mindset of deals, of corruption, of everything. It's dangerous, but it's the politics that led to this, because there are political entrepreneurs, you've heard about them, the young people, who rise up because they know how to speak, they know how to flatter. And what was politics? What is politics in Africa? We have to tell the truth. Someone who has the art of lying, of deceiving, of flattering, you see all the vices. If you combine all the vices, you're a good politician. That's the reality. Back in the village, when we saw someone who was a deceiver, who didn't tell the truth, we'd say, hey, that one, he's a politician. That's how we used to say it. So this mentality needs to change. Many have changed, many have understood, have changed, and are walking with us. Now, those who want to stick to their old political radicalism, they have no place here. Let's not kid ourselves. Otherwise, who wasn't involved in politics in Burkina? But it's the same people. It's because we've spoken, they've understood, and through actions they've realized that people are starting to change their mindset. And we want to change mindsets for good so that no one... I think that first you have to belong to a certain party to benefit from a road. You have to belong to a certain party to get a well. No, everyone in Burkina should benefit from the blessings of Burkina's nature and the work of the government. So politics, as I was saying, the way it's done divides people and gives special advantages to one group while the other group gets nothing. So no, we need to put a stop to that. So many have changed. There are some who hold positions of responsibility. People even point out to us saying, no, that person was active in such and such party. I tell the young people, no, we're not here to divide. We're here to unite. As long as the person understands and wants to do the work the way we want, we put them in place. Just as there are also some whom we entrusted with responsibilities, and after 2 or 3 months you saw that we had to go after them. Because if someone comes in and keeps trying to do the same things they used to do, we'll come after you and you'll be punished. So it's a change in mentality that we want. Everyone who changes their mindset is welcome on board the ship. But if you want to keep operating according to the old political ways, you have no place in the revolution.
Your Excellency, you've said it many times, order and discipline are necessary for the development of Faso. The retraining of young people has already begun. How can we involve the other segments of society?
That's right, very good. This program is a vast one, which we did not want to go into detail about. But I mentioned it once during one of my interviews that there is a large-scale program underway. We have to get started. Actually, young people are good, but they're not even our main target. It's the younger ones. The younger ones are our real target. After Sankara's death, as you know, we looked for all the daycare workers. Some of them even passed away, unfortunately, but the daycares were closed. Maybe it's the private sector that managed, opening a few preschools and such. And well, school became something else entirely. You know, if you want a society that will be combative and competitive tomorrow, you have to invest in children. Today, I separated the two ministries so that the Ministry of Basic Education could take this aspect into account. You see, we launched a lot of recruitment through the regular exam to provide supervision for early childhood. But we have just exceptionally launched another round for those who have already been trained, whom we want to recruit so that this year we can start a certain program. They are the target group, and we will get there. We have a program so that we can start a certain patriotic and civic education at the level of the youngest children. And once that's instilled there, we will have good citizens tomorrow. We're also doing this with the youth. The high school graduates, we had them go through immersion. They were afraid at first, but I think they've understood a lot of things. They need to be more supportive, humble. They need to understand Burkina, because someone who was born, in Ouaga 2000 here, who is in, you see, he sleeps in whatever bed he wants. He even complains that the mattress isn't good enough. In the morning, he gets to choose whatever he wants for breakfast. During immersion, he sleeps on the floor on a mat. He will understand that there are other Burkinabés who sleep on the floor. During immersion, he doesn't get to choose his breakfast. If there is any, he eats what everyone else eats. Already in his mind, he understands that there are two sides to Burkina Faso. And I said during immersion to deprive them. There are days when they will have 2 meals, days with 1 meal and days with no meals at all. I hope they did it. It's so that they understand life. We're young, but if we've reached this age and still haven't understood that there are different kinds of Burkinabés, that's dangerous. Young people need to understand that there are some who can't even afford a meal. And when he goes to bed hungry after a whole day without eating, do you really think that if tomorrow he's given a responsibility, his mind will always be on, if I squander money while there are people who have nothing to eat, it's his conscience that will make him grow. So these are the challenges we make them go through. I had planned for 45 days, but because of the registrations, I decided to make it 30 days. But for the next sessions, I hope we'll go for 45 days. So future high school graduates and STAR certificate holders should prepare themselves to face this. And the program will continue to grow. This was the first experience, but we hope to be able to change even the mentality of the youth.
Your Excellency, in the Council of Ministers, the decision to reform the agrarian and land law, as well as the status of customary and traditional chiefs, was adopted. What are the motivations behind this?
The agrarian reform was necessary. You know how many conflicts have arisen over this issue of land. There are villages that have fought with machetes, families that have been divided because of land issues. The state must take responsibility. But if you hesitate because you're afraid to declare this, that some people might feel frustrated or not, that's why the revolution is welcome. At some point, you have to decide to put an end to all this. How many real estate developers were there in Burkina in 2010? I don't think so. It wasn't even 20. Suddenly in 2015, there were more than 200. They bought up land everywhere, they're dividing it up. They sell, they resell, they've plundered the land, and it's dangerous. Right now we have a C4 application that we've just launched. We're in the process of re-registering. But what's happening is terrible. Even plots in the cities, people sell and resell them to several people because it wasn't digitized. It's a huge registry. Do you think someone can go through the registries, find the parcel number, see who it belongs to? So you went and bought it, but it's not. So there are a lot of duplicates and it creates conflicts. And while those politicians were doing that, they're there at conferences, events, talking about social cohesion. You can't promote social cohesion while dividing people over land. That's why we decided to take responsibility and put a stop to this massacre. And so the land belongs to the state. And from now on, we'll do everything we can to balance the situation as much as possible so that people don't feel wronged. It's the same for the traditional chieftaincy. This law has existed for a long time. A very long time from what I've been told, but no one wants to apply it. But we have decided to get involved, to take a closer look, because as far as I'm concerned, the traditional chieftaincy must be respected, must be listened to, and must be the ones working for social cohesion. When they speak, when there is a conflict, a contentious situation, they must speak up to bring people together, and their voice must carry weight. So there are a certain number of privileges, I can say, that have been put in place, symbols of authority that have been established around them, so that people respect them. Whether we like it or not, we respect them, and that they themselves command respect. Because lately politicians had led them astray. Many people today regret having marched alongside the politicians. There are villages where people are divided, people no longer respect the chiefs. But with this law, in any case, that we brought to the LTE, we tried to broaden many things so that their respect in society could be restored. And that's very important.
Your Excellency, the fight against terrorism is affecting our social fabric with suspicions of community exaltation. Living together is threatened by a right. How can we get Burkinabés to reconnect? With core values such as solidarity, civic-mindedness, and social cohesion.
I think these values are coming back on their own. On the contrary, the war has also led people to understand many things, and people are starting to unite more. You know, social inequalities create more problems for social cohesion than terrorism does. There is too much social inequality. I was telling some people, listen, you have eaten your fill. How are you going to sit down with someone who hasn't eaten anything? Talking about social cohesion, it's just not possible. It's the same situation I just mentioned to you. We have to try as much as possible to bring people to a certain level, as long as wealth is properly distributed. That's the first step. When it comes to abuses and everything else, we need to be careful. There are a lot of people who have made allegations. It was recently when we saw the case in Solenzo, they released images, talked and talked. We didn't say anything, we stayed calm. When they finished making noise, we showed the truth. The civilians who claimed the forces had killed were brought here to Ouagadougou and put in safety. If they were killed, why are they in Ouagadougou? How did they end up in Ouagadougou? Often it's done on purpose. They make up whatever they want with their NGOs, their media, and all that. But we let it go. And when they're done, we show the truth. That's it. The terrorists did use civilians as human shields. That's true, but the forces were able to tell the difference. After the fighting, they gathered the civilians in Solenzo. We sent the necessary resources to transport them here. They were presented in front of everyone, hundreds of civilians. They gave their testimony. So we need to be careful with the narrative of certain people who just want to push their own theories and whose goal is to divide us. But we must not fall into that trap.
Your Excellency, we have noticed this year there has been a resumption of social dialogue between the government and the unions after several years of interruption. What specific message does your government truly send to its valued social partners, especially knowing that the overall situation was quite tense between the government and the various unions?
Just as it was tense between the government and the journalists, everyone needs to understand that we must fight for our homeland. We made it clear, I spoke with the union leaders. I brought them together here. I spoke to them at a certain point in our history. But I was disappointed afterwards. So I told them, either you are Burkinabe or you are not Burkinabe. So the standoff began. But afterwards we decided to meet with them again because we assumed they had understood the message. And even then, I won't lie, when they came, they still wanted to understand, to display certain behaviors, the actions we take. It doesn't work. The country's at war, we have to do everything for the country. This imported unionism, that's not real unionism. There are even some who boast about having participated in Sankara's downfall. And they're the ones who started it all and so on. Do you really think that's a good thing? The Westerners manipulate you and you keep acting just the way they want you to. That's not unionism. A union fights for the interests of the workers. But most of the time, what the leaders really want is just to get a seat at the table with those in power. And people keep quiet. No. Listen, we have a lot of files on a lot of, not just the unionists. In society, we have a lot of files. The people who approached us at the beginning, who wanted favors, who wanted things that we refused, who then turned away, who left, who spoke out, we have their files. So, as for healthy unionism, there are many actions we've taken. We didn't wait for people to take to the streets to act. When I spoke about daycare workers, it wasn't someone who came to tell us that there were workers who had been let go and needed to have their rights restored. We saw a case and decided that they needed to have their rights restored. We told the FI ministers, we'll find the necessary funds to resolve this. The people from City Hall, the Green Brigade, those who work, they had months of back pay owed to them. For these people, those who are out of work, people weren't fighting for them before. No one came to us to tell us about it. For me, the women sweep in front of my house. One of my men went out once and they said, it's been months like this, their work. I looked into it and I was told, it's true. I said, that's unacceptable. We need to make up for everything they've missed. Some of them had several dozen months of back pay owed. We pulled out the file and decided to make up for all of that. So we need to engage in union work. It's a problem that people bring to us and explain to us. If we can solve it, we'll tell you we can do it. If we can't, we'll tell you, well, for now we can't, but we'll be able to do it in a certain amount of time. But if there's a problem, we gather the media and speak however we want. I hope they'll find the solution with you. Otherwise, if after that you don't come to us anymore, I want us to work in an African way. When there's a problem at home, we sit down, we talk, and we have to be truthful. What we can do, we must say clearly that we can do it. What we can't do, we'll also tell you that we can't. Now, if you don't want to, everyone does what they can. But we have to be responsible. And there's no problem that can't be solved. And as I always say, we must act with the nation's best interest in mind. That's very important. So we've resumed the dialogue as we do with everyone. We haven't broken off dialogue with anyone. Everyone is here, welcome.
Thank you, dear colleague. The time allotted for this segment has come to an end and even gone well over. We thank you for this series of questions dedicated to the political and social section. Mr. President, the concerns related to the economy and development will be addressed by Soumaïla Rabo from Savan Media and Jean-Marie Traoré from Sidwaya Publishing. Good evening, dear colleagues. You also have 20 minutes to address the head of state.
Good evening, Mr. Seyon, Mr. President. Despite the security crisis and the international situation, the Burkinabe economy is doing well, with a 1.5% increase in economic growth rate in 2024. We know that the improvement in the security situation has played a major role, but so have agriculture and the services sector. What is the government doing right now to ensure that the national economy continues on this path?
All right, thank you. I see these are macroeconomic figures, and we are aware of them, and we constantly review them with the Minister of Finance. Efforts are being made. It's true that there are areas that have been secured, which allow us to produce. And so agricultural production has increased significantly, which enables processing at the level of the small units we have. But also the export of surplus